my name's Karen Cameron and I work as a lecturer at the University of Glasgow in the School of Geographical and Earth Sciences. I specialise in geomicrobiology, so I'm really interested in how microorganisms interact with each other and their environments and how they cycle nutrients from one form to another. I focus most of my research on glacial environments in the Arctic, but I've not always done this, so I wanted to share the route that took me to where I am today and also share with you some of my research interests. So when I was at school, I was always really fascinated with biology, and in particular the biology of humans. I found it amazing that so many critical processes go on in our bodies all the time, but we scarcely think about them. I also loved physical geography, learning about rivers, mountains, glaciers, all of the things that I loved to see when I was spending time in the outdoors. And when it came to choosing what I wanted to do at university, biology somehow ended up trumping geography, and so I went to university to start my degree in biomedical science. And I certainly wasn't disappointed by this choice, so much so that after I completed my degree, I went on to work as a lab research assistant, looking at a gene that's involved in an eye disorder called night blindness. And this work suited me really well. I really enjoyed it, and my boss was a fantastic mentor and friend. However, I started to sense that this area of work wouldn't be my forever, and I slowly realized that it might be time to move on. It was almost as if I had channeled the research down so far that I was just looking at one particular gene with one particular function, and I was really starting to miss having the bigger picture. So it was time to take a step back and really think about what I wanted to do and what could be bigger, more majestic and more pressing to study than glaciers. Finally, I had found a way to combine my love of biology and my love of geography. And 3.5 years later, I completed a PhD in glacial microbiology. And this PhD had taken me to the Arctic, to Antarctica. It had taught me so many things about research design, research techniques, writing, presentation skills. But most importantly, I was hooked on this subject and inspired to continue in this field. And from there, I did postdocs in Seattle and in Copenhagen, and then I spent some time working in Bergen. And then after many years of being abroad, I was awarded a fellowship that allowed me to return to the UK, where I worked at Aberystwyth University in Wales, before getting a position here at the University of Glasgow. So a little bit about why I found my area of research so interesting. Well, microorganisms are crucial for the functioning of every environment on Earth, even those found in the cold environments of the Arctic or Antarctica. And not only do these regions endure sub-zero temperatures, but they undergo months of darkness when the sun doesn't rise above the horizon, followed by months of 24-hour-a-day sunlight. And when there is sunlight, they face really high levels of UV radiation. And in the winter months, there's a lack of liquid water, which is essential for all life to survive. And there can also be really low levels of nutrients within these environments. And all of these factors make living in these environments extremely challenging. That said, you might think an environment like this is devoid of life. However, even with just kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of frozen snow around, we find microbial cells. Some areas of glaciers are even teeming with life, like these cryoponds on the surface of the Greenland ice sheet. If you were to scoop up a gram of the dark sludge from here, you would find as many cells, many of which would be alive, as you would if you picked up a gram of soil from your local park. I've done work on the surfaces of glaciers. I've worked on the microbial communities that live in the permanently dark subglacial environments, so underneath glaciers. I've looked at the downstream impact of microbial communities that are flushed out of glaciers in meltwater and that get transported to adjoining river systems and fjords and coastal environments. And I've looked at what are the limits of life, looking at signs of protein activity at super low temperatures. Of course, climate warming is redesigning many of these fragile, temperature sensitive environments. And as worrying as these events are, I'm intrigued to study the ecological consequences of climate change on glacial systems so that we can better know what's coming our way in the future and understand the importance and the significance of these glacial microbiota in regional and global contexts. For example, one of the more recent projects that I worked on looked at algae that live on the surface of glaciers. These algae are packed with pigments that protect them from damaging sunlight. However, because these pigments are dark, they absorb more of the sun's energy, and like if you were to wear a dark t-shirt on a hot sunny day, you would find it hotter than if you wore a white t-shirt, which would be reflecting the sun away from you. As cells absorb the sun's energy, they warm up and they melt the ice around them. So these tiny cells are collectively contributing to the melting and disappearance of glaciers and ice sheets. And in fact, these cells are so abundant that we can see them from space, as highlighted in this image here. Work that I've been doing in this area looks at just how much melt these algal cells are contributing to. And also I've looked at how these cells are interacting with their environment and how these interactions are causing them to become either more or less likely to cause melt. When I'm teaching, I'm often sharing my knowledge of geobiology and climate change, or sharing the skills and the techniques that I use in my research. And when I'm researching, there's a lot of laboratory work and a lot of computer and writing work too. But I also get to go to the field to collect samples and take measurements and generally get a feel and a better understanding of these extremely complex ecosystems. And so I thought it would be good to share with you a video made by a friend and colleague, Marie Bolinova. So in 2018, I joined a research team who split up into 3 groups, and each group set up camp in a different area on the edge of the Greenland ice sheet. And for weeks we all did exactly the same investigations, but at different meltwater rivers. And Marie took the time to make a really great short video of some of her group's activities, and I think it's just a really nice way to capture some of the scenes, the field work and the lifestyle that we experience when we go to the field to do our research. So I hope this insight into my career and my research has been of use to you. I hope that you've seen that your path through your career doesn't necessarily have to be a conventional one. And I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about my research and my research interests. And maybe you've also been left with your own curiosities about doing research in this field.